Yeah. See that we're going live right now.
Well, what do you think? Should we
I think it might have.
It's frustrating.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
As usual. I think it might have. So it's so funny. It's what was happening 5 minutes ago. So I've definitely just wanted to apologize to everyone. Today there's a storm happening in Greece. I don't know if that's why the internet's really slow, but as the internet has been clogging, all kinds of haywire things have been happening. So I apologize. We're gonna try to make this work.
Yeah.
And if Zoom reboots more than once, I'm gonna have to call it.
Yeah.
But
another.
But welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you're with us. I'm Eric Nielsen, and I invited Skya. And Skya, forgive me. I want to learn how to pronounce your last name, but I'm gonna need some guidance.
It's Boudousquie.
Boudousquie. How would you say it with a French accent?
Boudousquie.
Oh, I like it. I wasn't sure if it was like Boudousquie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know how they would say it in France. You know how everything gets translated once we come over to the US.
Yeah. And one of the ways I know Skya, I met him before I got to the big island of Hawaii, but we used to be neighbors in lovely little Puna, and I would see him with his gorgeous little van parked on the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean on my morning runs, and cooking breakfast and eggs in the side door of his amazing adventure van, and we both kind of went through the traumatic experience of watching our neighborhood melt down literally in a volcano.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that prepared me for this though.
Right? I'm like, this isn't like there's no fireballs.
Yeah. There's no lava covering entire neighborhoods.
You feel like we took the same AP English World Disaster Preparedness class? We're in the same semester.
Yeah.
Well, and Skya, you've been doing for a number of years. You've had a self-care online course that is brilliantly named. Could you describe it for a second?
Well, we've kind of actually rebranded it. It used to be called Closing Your Nurture Gap. But we've sort of just because that's sort of more insider lingo, we've changed it to just kind of hot off the presses. So I'm looking for it right now. We've changed it to Transform Your Health and Your Life in 6 Weeks Kickstart program. So we just, we're always looking for ways to more effectively help people with their self-care and how to actually address the underlying causes of disease. So
I love the concept though. Now I'm going to steal your name now that you're not using it. The concept
Tracy's the one that comes up with all the names. She's the brilliant name. She just literally just picks them out of thin air, and I'm just like, how'd you do that?
I will agonize for weeks over a name.
Oh, and yeah, me too.
But the concept of a nurture gap I loved because it's this understanding that there is a level of nurture required to run efficiently, to make all the processes work well in your life, and totally. just the word itself is healing, I thought.
Yeah, and we've even used the word functional nurture. We have functional medicine and all these other things that are kind of denoting what the body really needs on a biological level. And so instead of it just being oh yeah, it's nurture, whatever, it's no, this is functional nurture. Your cells need this stuff. You actually need to, eat in a way that gives your cells what they need, and you need to move your body to get the lymph flowing and the circulation and all of that. So it's good stuff.
Well, I'm doing this. I'm trying to share this on my page to make sure it's streaming there. This is all new. It's we're all venturing into this super high-tech trying to stay connected in a very human way, but it requires API keys and green keys and very arcane pipelines. And I feel like I've taken a college course this week and trying to make these things work.
Totally. I know, and there's like part of me that just wants to get away from all the technology. You know, I just want to be like, I don't want my phone anymore. I don't want my computer anymore. And yet I love how it allows us to be more connected and share, you know, these amazing things that we've both been able to, you know, receive in our lives and give to ourselves in our lives, and then how we get to share that with other people. So
Yeah.
it's like, there's part of me that's like, I'm just going to suck it up. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do it. Even though I just want to like throw it all away and go play outside.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my God. I have waited. I landed in Greece in spring of April of last year,
Okay.
and I thought I've never seen a more beautiful landscape to see spring in, because it's just like the beautiful blue sea and ruins and castles and monasteries with wildflowers popping out amongst the ruins.
Wow.
And now I'm locked inside.
Ah.
You know,
I
I'm waiting.
really feel for you because I can still go outside here since I'm not in the city, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, I'm so grateful every day for like getting to go on a hike and go into the woods and play and all that. So I really feel for you and everyone who's just like stuck inside right now, because that's
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
I've been sneaking out. I have
Yeah.
been
Good.
collecting. I've been collecting herbs and from all the empty lots.
Good. Yes. Cistus and Canus. That's a good one in the Mediterranean. Do you know that one?
Say again? What is it?
Cistus and Canus. It's with a CIS, and it's also called I think it's called rock rose or something like that. It's like it grows in the hills in the Mediterranean. I don't know if it grows exactly where you are, but it's a
Okay.
powerful antimicrobial herb. I don't think it really works on viruses, but it works on biofilm disruption, which is, you know, when talking about pathogens, like disrupting biofilms is a really important thing to do, because they basically build shields and they're like, no, you can't get past these shields.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God! Thank you for planting that word in my head.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do more research on biofilms.
Yeah. Biofilms. Because I mean, think about it. They make like it's like a kind of a mucus layer. It's more than just mucus, but they literally build, you know, a force field that things like antibiotics and our immune system can't get past. So it's important to have different herbal technologies to be able to kind of disrupt that. That's why like washing our hands is important. You know, it's the
Yeah.
scrubbing, the soap and all that, because it literally disrupts the biofilms. So
Yeah. I'm wondering if this just might be mountain tea.
yeah,
There's
that might be it. Yeah.
like every little old lady in every little mountain town wants to give you this herb, and it's like little flowers on a stalk, and it smells delicious. Like when you make tea with it and you lift the lid, the aroma is already doing all of its work. So I think it might be cystis, but I'll look that up.
Yeah, look
So
that up.
so so you know, when we come to the title of the session today, it's embracing the pause, and there's this unprecedented moment where we all have, not all, some of us have time on our hands unexpectedly. Some of us already had time on our hands. We're used to managing it. Um, and all of a sudden it's time, and it's not necessarily a vacation planned or a thing already inserted in that slot for that time. So it's funny that I'm seeing this creativity erupt in people, you know, with what to do with this time. What are you seeing out there in your circles?
I'm definitely seeing people like prioritizing the things that they've been wanting to get to, you know, like the things like their self-care, that there's always like this, oh, I want to learn that, or I want to start doing that. But, you know, right now I have to do my to-do list, you know, and sometimes it's hard to get those things on your to-do list. And I'm seeing a lot of people, you know, prioritizing those kinds of things, as well as other little like, you know, indoor projects like scrapbooking and other creative endeavors, you know, learning things that they've been meaning to learn. So, what about you?
Skya,
Can you
Skya.
hear me?
I couldn't. You had this amazing slow mo, like ner 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 ner.
I basically,
I feel like my acid just hit. I was staring.
who knows, maybe they heard it. But I was basically saying, I think I'm seeing a lot of people prioritize self-care and just the
Yeah,
things that didn't always make it onto their to-do list, you know?
yeah,
Now it's just kind of like, okay, I can either sit here and be bored, or I can start learning those things and implementing and
yeah.
doing those things that I've been meaning to give to myself. So
I'm seeing a lot of ukuleles and guitars.
yeah, a lot of music, a lot of creative energy going on.
People
Scrapbooking.
scrapbooking. I haven't seen
I've
that
seen
one
some
yet.
of that. Yeah, I've seen some of that. Yeah.
So for me, this brings up, I work with a lot of people who are going through a career shift, and including people who might have lost their job, laid off, fired, anything like that, and or just decide to quit. And there's this there's a thing that happens to people at retirement where suddenly they've occupied their time with a pattern and a pattern and an identity that comes with that pattern and the reward and validation that comes with performing in that pattern, and suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
The silence is deafening. Like the space that was occupied can feel vast for people. And there's a moment where people, knowing how to express your time wisely is a, for me is a, it's a muscle. It's like a skill that people have not necessarily built. And when suddenly they are presented with a whole bunch of time, they don't actually know how to create the structure, or they don't know what to do with it, or it gets taken up in, a distractionary kind of thing, which is perfectly valid and normal. I think when the inner teenager in us, when the boss or mom or that authority figure has kind of kept that inner teenager at bay for so long, and suddenly the parents are out of the house, there's a desire to eat all the potato chips, watch all the watch all the Netflix, play all the video games, and other things like that. But then at some point the inner teenager gets kind of satiated or bored, and
Yeah.
then
And it's just not as satisfying anymore.
mhm,
Once you kind of hit that level, it's kind of like, okay, now what?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think people maybe are there really solidly this week too.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing,
Yeah. It's been long enough. I feel that it's kind of
yeah,
like, okay, now what is kind of like the feeling that I think might be coming up for
yeah.
people, you know?
I've been structuring my time since 2005. I think like that's how long I've worked for myself.
Okay.
Um, have you have you have you been had a long span structuring your own time as well?
Yeah, I have. I've never really gone to work for anyone, so I've always had my own business. But I also, living in Hawaii was a different reality for me because it was like I was focused more on like my own spiritual growth. So it was a lot of time spent on that, and then also just a lot of time spent out in the ocean and in nature. So it's like now that I'm focusing more on my like worldly, creating my worldly world. Um, it definitely takes a certain discipline to like give myself the time for the things that I'm wanting to accomplish. I'm wanting to move forward in these different directions in my life, and it's like I have to actually like schedule it, or I don't do it. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
been a really big lesson for me actually in the last couple of years since moving to the mainland. So
I think we're in a very similar journey with that.
yeah, yeah, it's like the different layers of development, and I think for a lot of people it's a little bit of the opposite. It's like they've spent all of their adult life like developing their career and the more worldly connections and things like that, and then they're at this moment of like, okay, now what do I do with myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, how do I actually like go inside? Like, how do I connect to what I really want to be doing? Because all of a sudden we have all this time and this pause, and it's like, well, what do you really want out of it? What do you want to do with your time? This is
yeah,
valuable stuff. This is like a once in a lifetime pause, I feel.
yeah,
Maybe not once, but hopefully we won't have to do this too many more times.
yeah. First in a lifetime pause.
Right, first in a
I
lifetime,
mean,
really. No, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that. Like we, most of us went to school and we just been on this like treadmill, like running, 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 and now it's like all of a sudden, like, oh wait, what do I want to do with myself today, this day that I have?
Yeah.
How do I want to spend it? So I love what you're bringing up with structuring that muscle of finding, how to structure it.
Yeah. So let's break it down. Like, what are the components? Because it seems like part of it is actually knowing, being able to sense and move towards fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Identify,
Yes.
being able to sense what is fulfilling. Having a good map of that. A lot of people who are, I don't want to say a lot of people are overriding. I think I've seen a lot of people come a long way in the last few years
Mhm.
of choosing companies that work for them, and 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 really finding jobs that are aligned to who they are. I'm seeing like the whole world population move in that direction. But people still will override their personal desire. People will still override their inner feeling if they want to go to work or not. And to do that requires a bit of a disconnection from that inner compass
Mhm.
of what wants to happen. And there sometimes you get kind of confronted like with not actually knowing. A lot of times what you think you should be doing is maybe a lot of other people's ideas of that too.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I think it's easy, if you just give like one of these days that we have in this pause, it's like so easy to just like wake up, get on the phone, the social media, the whatever, and then just start, being taken for these rides unconsciously, where you don't even really realize you're not really going in and listening to like, well, what do I actually want to do with my time? What do I want to do at this moment, this opportunity? And so I love what you just said, like it's so important to start out by actually connecting to what you're feeling, and to what your inner desires are, like what's going to bring you to that feeling of fulfillment, because that's different for everyone. It's like we all have our own journey with that. And I
Yeah.
think the first step is really to just start, taking that pause and connecting. So it's like we're taking this bigger pause, but like I find it really helpful to, either when I start my day or, at moments throughout my day, to take that pause and actually just like feel, what am I feeling? What's happening inside of me? Because if I'm not connected to that, then I have like no idea how to even, go move towards that feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah, because you don't have your inner Google Maps turned on.
Right.
It,
I love
you're not
that.
you're not hearing the signal or anything like that. Your compass isn't open.
And I love
Uh,
how you call yourself an inner compass coach. I read that, correct? Inner compass coach.
yeah,
And I love that, because that to me it's the key for everything. Even some of this more complex health stuff that I deal with, it's like the most important thing is just to get people connected to their inner compass, because that will always guide them back to health, and back to fulfillment.
so so one I there's a concept that I teach a lot of people, the app, which you're connected to your signals. You're connected to your emotional signals. You're moving. You're monitoring time. I've been monitoring the bit rate on webcasts for the 15 minutes, and me like watching the signal. We about to dip out.
I think I lost you, Eric. Well, if you're watching and Eric has exited, we could just go ahead and just close our eyes and just connect in to our breath, taking this as a little opportunity for a pause. And just letting yourself feel whatever you're feeling right now, whatever's been coming up for you. Maybe it's a sensation in your body. Maybe your body is talking to you in some way, in some area. Maybe it's an emotion.
Yes, whatever Skya
There it
just
is. It's okay. I started. I didn't know if they could still hear me, so I was like, well, let's just pause and meditate.
Well, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you said.
Well, I mean, it's just like anytime you have this like pause, like what, like why have to be busy and be, like figuring out what to do? Why not just like close your eyes and just feel or breathe or whatever? It's like just feel what's coming up in any moment and just
Yeah,
be flexing that muscle of connection. It doesn't have to be a long thing. It doesn't have to be some great profound meditation. Just listen and feel for a minute and check in and scan, whatever you want to do. And
yeah.
it's helpful. Yeah.
It's funny that I said dip out and I dipped out 2 seconds later. Um, what I was going to say was that when you are monitoring that signal real time, it's this depth. It creates this depth to the map. Like I call it like the emotional topography or the energetic topography. Whereas when you're dealing with things only logical, disconnected from the felt sense of things, then everything's like a 2D map and you can't really see where the hills and the valleys are. But when you're moving through your map with the felt sense of things, suddenly you see the topography and you see that some routes to reality are not efficient, they're not easy, they're not the way that you're being guided. They're unnecessarily hard. They're
Mhm.
so good. They make you lose life. They cost too much gas. You
Yeah,
know, to
totally.
get up the hill. So to me, like when you start to develop an emotional, when you start to map out your emotional topography, what things bring me life? What activities bring me life? When I was sitting in an office, what did I feel myself longing for? Or what was the last time I felt really, really alive?
Mhm.
Um, I started to notice when I was working when I worked for a corporation years and years ago, that just getting outside on the weekends in nature was a big wake up call for me. It's like I I said to myself, why am I not in this 5 days a week? You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
not just 2 days. And because I noticed how alive, like every part of my being had come online, looking at a tiny beautiful thing in the soil, or at a
Mhm.
flower, something popping out of the moss. And so that like I noticed that was a beautiful place in my emotional topography. It's like, let's come here as much as possible. This is life giving, this is life affirming.
Mhm.
And sometimes you just have to go through reality and feel things, like someone on a beach with a metal detector. You don't know exactly where it is, but if you're listening, you might hear the beep when you run across it. you know
Absolutely. Yeah, and I feel like these vessels we're in, these bodies and the emotions we can experience in them, like there's so much information that is flowing to us, and I think that we're just taught to, just ignore it because it's not necessarily seen as productive or as, furthering that our goals or whatever. But I think what you're bringing up is that it actually can. It's like when you really
Mm,
do start listening and you really start honoring and believing that you can actually have what you want. You can actually get the things that you're wanting, like those feelings of satisfaction and of fulfillment. Then it can actually guide you to a very productive life. It doesn't have to just be
yeah.
escaping reality. It can actually be creating a reality that you really want to live in.
Yes, I love the way you said that. Have you ever been on the internet and you just click on a link that's fascinating to you, and then there's some other links on that page that are
Uh-huh.
and you click on it again, and 2 hours later, you're in a completely different territory of the internet than where you started.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that can happen in life. Like when you find
Mm-hmm.
that fascinating link and you just click on it, just keep clicking. You don't have to come back to the same page. And
Absolutely.
we got this great opportunity where you don't have to be at work on Monday. Maybe you do. Maybe you're working from home, but there's more space to click on those links.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's not only a pause for those people who are out of work right now or who are having to stay home. It's like a reevaluation type pause. It's
Yeah.
like a wake up call kind of a pause. Like, okay, wait, we are all going to die. Like this is evident right now. It's like one of those rare moments where we're all having to like face that and be like, oh, like we're all gonna die. But then the question becomes, well, okay, so what am I here for again? Like what do I want to do here? Because I really don't have that much time actually. Like, and I don't really want to just waste it on whatever. And I'm not saying, I know you're not saying that like having a job means you're wasting your life, because it doesn't. It's like it's more, are you listening internally, and are you following what really fulfills you and turns you on? And that's going to
Yeah.
be different for everyone. Some people, they need a certain job to feel that, and some people, they might
Yeah.
need to adjust their lifestyle around that.
Yeah. I definitely see some people whose jobs are, it feels like one of their highest expressions.
Yeah.
Job becomes the vehicle for them to express their best, and they feel incredibly alive. And there may be some annoyances,
Yeah.
sometimes structure chafes, sometimes a tight pair of jeans is
Yeah, I
is
mean, even like us, like we're doing exactly what we want to be doing, offering to the world what we want to be offering, and yet doesn't mean it's all just like a walk in the park. I mean, I definitely have to sacrifice some of my playtime outside to to do this,
yes.
but it's like I'm getting something out of that. Like I'm actually fulfilling a deep desire that I have, to be in service and to share the gifts that I've had. And if I just go play outside all the time, then I sometimes feel like I'm, squandering that gift and not really being very open about sharing it. So it really is just like finding that structure, like you said, in your own life, where you can like put your life together in the different ways that really just light you up. And it's a constant process. It's not like okay, I have to get to this one place on the topographical map and then I've made it. It's a constant journey through the map. and
Okay.
and I think what we're saying is that you have a guidance system, but you gotta like actually connect to it in order to be guided, in a way that's going to bring the most joy.
Yeah. I think this concept of the guidance system, maybe one of the ideas behind it is that there is an aspect of you that has a bigger perspective, or maybe it is connected to more of the organism, the meta
Mm,
organism.
yeah.
Because I think we as a human have the ability to be a focused point.
Mm.
Like, just for example, my whole reality gets focused on whether or not this live stream link is posted on my Facebook page. It's like an hour of my life can disappear on that. But there's also a part of me that expands outward and even kind of inward, like as if the pipeline to everything is at the core of our beings, and by diving in, we actually get connected to everything. And that in that broad perspective, that there is there is guidance, uh, standing 10,000 feet above the plane.
Mm.
Like when you're standing that tall, you don't necessarily affect things on the ground, but you have this feeling of what's coming ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And so trusting that there is broader perspective is feeding information into your present reality. And I teach people it's a part of that. The emotion connected to all the other moving parts, integrated with all the moving parts, can be very effective guidance.
Absolutely.
But I'm still discovering that. Still I'm it's like a machine, a very powerful machine without an instruction manual
Mm-hmm.
by the manufacturer.
Yeah.
A very intuitive interface, and there's a lot of other fans that are also their own manuals. They're not all true, but you can read other people's manuals to kind of get a sense that maybe this is how the machine operates.
I love how you said that. All right, just lost you. So again, if you're still tuned in, you can just not waste this moment to actually connect with this inner guidance system that we're talking about right now. So just feel free to close your eyes and again, just start feeling your breath, feeling sensations, feeling emotions. Hi.
Back.
I was like, let's just connect to what he was talking about. Because it's right here.
I was still broadcasting it.
Nice.
One thing that
Uh,
I'll do, one thing that I'll do to sort of train people how to step into the possibility of what can happen in a day is to have them write down every single thing at the beginning of the day that could possibly happen in a day.
hmm.
And, like 4 or 5 things on that list are crap I've been avoiding, you know, like
Hmm.
pay my taxes, get that post finally put up, whatever I'm avoiding.
Right.
Some of those things are complete distractions, like watch TV, masturbate, go have sex with my lover, whatever,
Yeah.
anything that's just frivolous, like the popcorn of life. And then once that list is exhausted, just start to brainstorm, like go out on a hike, go to this, go to that, just listening for anything that pops in your mind.
Mhm.
And then you get a list that kind of explores the whole range. It's like all the different needs are expressed, like the
Mhm.
the teenage needs, the adult needs, the kids needs, um, and then I'll have them go through that list and just feel which ones light their emotions or their body up, like what
Mhm.
gives them a zing, and then just note that. Like I do this on the computer in the morning. I'll make a list. I'll put a little X after every, like if something's a little light up, I put an X. If something's like a big light up, I put XXX.
Mhm.
Just signifier. And then I'll sort of sort, like I'll have the things that were the most exciting to me bubble up to the top. And the funny thing is, some days it will totally be watching TV and the popcorn of life, the snack
Uh,
food
yeah.
of time spending.
Uh-huh.
But then I noticed that that only lasts for a day or two at most. Like usually by the second day of that, I'm actually wanting to tackle something big. Like I find that I'm hungry for some meat and potatoes of life. Like I want to tackle the taxes, or I want to work on the website, or I want to, and I notice that there's a constant variability, in what the body needs at 10 in the morning may not be what the body needs, or the being needs at 4 in the afternoon. And so those things will change around a little bit. So that's one of the activity that gets people to both brainstorm, expand their map of what's possible, but also get it connected in priority to the emotional signals that they have inside.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love to get people to add to that list like different forms of self-care,
Mm.
and especially things that they may not, even realize that they can give themselves, like for
Yeah,
instance, massaging yourself, things like that. And then what I really like to do is get like teach them how to start like practicing those in a way that they can actually be something that lights them up, right? Instead of it being this like, oh yeah, I know I should, stretch or whatever. Like I should. It's like, well, can we
right.
actually like, start to like change that lens and be like, well, actually, like it feels really good, and I get a lot out of it. Like then I just kind of feel like high the rest of the day. Like when I do that for myself,
Yeah,
and start to basically retrain our brain to really desire like those pleasures that bring us into a higher vibration or bring us into more of our like center and into health and vitality. Because I just
yeah,
feel like in terms of like self-care, like so many people, because they haven't been flexing it,
yeah,
they just have this idea that it's so hard, and it's like, no, I'd rather just do the popcorn stuff. So it's like, even though I know I should cook something for myself, and I should, do something to, move my body, and I should, it's like, well, no, what if we could reorient those to actually be like something we really want to do, like at the top of our list, where we're like, yes, like I get to go play outside and I get to breathe fresh air, you
yeah,
know? And it does take that, like doing it a few times and just actually starting to like reorient the brain to be able to like experience pleasure around it,
yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you, because the brain has not connected the dots that
Exactly.
this little amount of effort creates this amount of life force in the
Exactly. Because
beginning.
if you're not feeling it, then you're not, you're connected to that. If you're more in your logical mind, it just seems like something else in your to-do list. So it's like, why would I do that? I've never done it. It's weird. It's uncomfortable, you
Right.
know. But like when you actually start doing it and receive that payoff, the dopamine and all the serotonin and everything you can get from giving yourself that, then it actually starts to become more of a priority or something
I,
you look forward to.
I was in a friend's bedroom once and I saw on his wall he had, I wish to God I'd taken a picture of this because I've been trying to find it since then, but he had 5 columns and each column was a different type of activity. One was social and connective, one was physical well-being, one was maybe connection to nature. And like that's it, I can't remember the rest of the columns, but then he had, like 8 or 9 things under each one of those columns. And the idea is that you just throw a dart.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having it in front of you, the options that you might not consider on a regular basis, can kind of, it's easier to select those menu items when you can see them. I thought that was a really great idea.
That is really cool because it's like we're talking about this whole integration of our different parts, right? Like you have this emotional part that maybe you have like a feeling for what you want to accomplish in the day. Like you want to go to bed just feeling this sense of accomplishment or like you've really given yourself all the things you need. But then there's also the logical part of ourselves that need that extra like structure and guidance and
Yeah,
you know the actual ability to like choose an activity and then follow through with it, right?
yeah,
Like we have to honor both parts. It's like if you don't
yeah,
have the emotional piece, then you're just like following orders basically. And then if all you have is the emotional piece and you're just kind of like, oh yeah, just feeling through life, then you're not
yeah,
actually like able to, interact in the world and be productive in the ways that you
yeah,
want to be, you know.
yeah. I used to
Yeah.
have a banner on my wall that said, "If you feel like shit, dance," and it was just to remind me that that wasn't always an out exit door from
Yeah.
a not great feeling state of mind.
Hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tools too. It's just like anytime I'm feeling stuck, it's just like, okay, put on some music. Like where's some music? Just get into some movement
Yeah,
and just like break out of that. And for me, that's something that really helps me feel too, because it can be hard for some people to just like sit still and be like, okay, now I'm feeling. Like, well, what am I feeling? I don't feel anything.
yeah,
It can be really hard to connect to that. And for me, it's helpful to like anything that can get me into my body and out of my head, whether it's stretching or doing some exercise or just like dancing for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be very long, but all of a sudden I just start getting these like ideas and downloads and feelings of like, okay, wait, now I feel clear. Okay, this is what I actually want to do next, and then I'll sit at my computer and start typing
yeah,
and
yeah.
doing my work. So
Let's brainstorm. Let's see if we can come up with a semi-exhaustive list of just things that someone can do in a time that are kind of nurturing and
mm,
uh for me just walking out the door now, that's a little bit taboo right now.
right. Some places.
Walking out the door for groceries, but just any change of environment, any
Yeah.
change of environment can be hugely creative. So even if it's just for 5 minutes, that's sometimes enough to kickstart a flow. uh
Absolutely.
Nature, walks, runs. I like to do a thing where I'll do an intuitive walk or an intuitive run where I don't really know where I'm going to go, but I make
Nice.
sure I have enough money for the bus or a cab or an Uber if I get lost on a mountain somewhere.
That's great.
Um, and then I just sort of feel my way to the streets, and that's kind of a fun that tickles my inner teenager because it feels like a grand adventure, even though it's just like a run through the neighborhood or something like that.
Yeah, I did that the other day and I found this like huge dam that's at this like reservoir right up the street. And it was just this beautiful like walk along a creek. And then all of a sudden there's this like, huge dam. And I was like, this isn't my backyard, you know?
You're,
And I had
you're like
never quite like adventured far enough to see that before. So
you're
it's,
like,
it's, yeah.
damn.
Yeah, damn, like I can go here anytime. And I think that's really important. Obviously right now, some people can't just explore, but some people can as long as you're staying away from people. And it's like, so just expand your idea of like where you're even living, I think is just super like gratifying for our internal well-being, you know?
Yeah. I had
Yeah.
to babysit a dog in San Francisco maybe 10 years ago, and I just decided the dog was so insistent on where it was going that I
Uh-huh.
decided I couldn't let the dog walk me. And
Nice.
I just let the dog walk me as far as the dog wanted to go, and the dog never picked the same route twice. And he
Wow.
always picking a different route to kind of sniff out, his territory. And
Uh-huh.
I adopted that as kind of a, like sniff out your territory, like investigate all the crooks and crannies, every lost little street, from where you are.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, and I feel like it's incredibly healing. Even just stepping outside. If you can't go for walks right now, just like you said, step outside, look at things far away. You know, our eyes need the full range of motion, just like in our body, we need full range of motion. So I think
mm-hmm.
looking at things far away, looking around with just gratitude for nature and life, you know, just trying to really connect to that feeling. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge, great practice.
Dancing.
Dancing, yeah. Yeah, finding some good music and just moving your body and like no one's watching, you know, just feeling free to like explore movements that you don't do on a regular basis, you know. So many of us get
There's
stuck in these like I'm just moving like a robot in these little positions.
Yes.
Yeah, our bodies don't like that.
That's one of the things I when I visited your house in Hawaii, I saw that you had a small space in a
Mhm.
beautiful garden, but you were showing me all of the movement activities that you could perform just in this small little space. You're like rolling your back on your roller, like
Yeah,
it was
I'm fortunate to be one of those people that my body speaks to me loud and clear with this thing called pain. And so it's like it's just
yes,
always like trained me to seek that good feeling. So I'm able to actually keep it out of pain now, but it's
yeah,
like it's just this ability that I think we all have to just really like listen and respond to like how our body is wanting to be moved. And we're
yeah,
all different, right? We all have different constitutions, but you don't need a lot of space, you know, and you don't need fancy equipment. I mean, even just like a yoga mat and that much space, you know, is like
yeah,
plenty enough to do plenty of
yeah,
things.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Cook a good meal. That's something else you're amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Learn
Uh,
some new recipes. I mean, shoot, there's like so much stuff online and you can make anything, you know?
oh, I remember that I'm getting invited now to online dances, and
Mm.
I've seen a couple of these moments on Zoom where there's like 300 little Zoom windows open, and you can scroll and pin, someone dancing that you would want to dance near on a dance floor. You're like, oh, I'm going to dance near them, and you have them on the screen, and it's, like it's not ideal to be plugged into your electronic equipment all the time like this, but it is a nice use of it, I think.
Well, and if
Uh,
it gets you dancing, especially, yeah, like
yeah,
I think a
yeah,
lot of people need other people to dance with. It really does kind of like get that flow going. That sometimes when you're just feeling a little stuck, you know,
yeah,
you may not be able to get past that on your own, but then to join a dance, you know, that's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very resident. When I see someone move in a funny way, I'm like, oh, I want to do that thing.
I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that's just expanded my own dance vocabulary so much is just dancing with other people, you know, and just watching and just like, oh, they're
Yeah,
moving that way. I can move in that way too. And then, oh, look at them. Oh, they're moving that way. I can move that way too, you know? And it really frees you from your own like ideas of limitation, you know?
and now we're in a Vogue off.
Exactly. We were doing that on a walk yesterday.
Um,
Play outside. I like the idea of just like being in a state of play. I mean, it could be inside too, but
yeah,
just the feeling of play, like you're saying, the teenager, the child, like really giving them a space to come and just like get free, you know? I
yeah.
think that's really good for people.
Learning a language, learning
Ooh,
that one's fun.
yeah.
Um,
A lot of apps for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Learning to make music, humming, singing,
Mm-hmm.
vibrating, plucking an instrument, beating on a drum. That definitely brings the child out.
Mm-hmm.
Calling someone.
Yeah, I've been doing that lately, and it made me realize how much I actually love to just connect in conversation with people. You know,
Yep.
I think I had been so like, just emphasizing Facebook and social media so much that I felt almost a little disconnected from people. And then I started calling people and I was like, oh my God, this is that feeling that I love. You're like, I love connecting to people one on one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of actually why I started doing this, because I think some people want to have these conversations or they're informed by these conversations, but I just want to talk, I just want to talk
Yeah.
to people. And I want to
Yeah.
talk to people that I really like or I find interesting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this is coming from for me.
Love that.
I noticed I was just calling a lot of people and FaceTiming, and I'm like, why not just share some of this?
Right.
You know?
Especially when it's people who have so many gifts to offer. Like it's always like when I speak to someone like you and I just know there's going to be like such beautiful things shared, it just feels a little selfish to keep it all to myself. you know
Yeah.
it's like, well, we should probably record this and share it just for in case anyone else wants to know. you know
Someone will. I find almost every video, even if it's like two people watch the video, like someone's like, thank you, hey.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so let's see what else is there. There's meditation, right? Just that act of taking moments throughout the day to connect. And you don't even have to call it meditation, just connecting to yourself, to what you're feeling, like embracing the pause, like what the title of this is, just like taking that pause. I like to do it sometimes just like before I eat. I'm not really that big into like long meditations anymore. I just like to kind of use it as a tool to just feel that connection and listen and make sure I'm not ignoring anything. you know?
I'm a fan of the five
Yeah,
minute,
absolutely.
but 5
Because then it's
minutes,
like I feel like I can go deep.
yeah, 5 minutes
Yeah.
3 times a day or twice, like at different
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
Um, I do one at one of my teachers taught me the doorway one. Every time you cross through a portal
Mm.
of one reality into another, even if it's like if you've been in your bedroom all day and then you cross into your office or your living room, like it's a different chapter, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of being present to what was before and then
Mm-hmm.
moving into the next thing, like that kind of gets you present to the meaning making machine that you're in. um I like to do walking ones too, like that's one of my favorite ones,
Yeah.
going around looking at things. And because when you're moving your body, you're suddenly aware of actually how your hips really do feel.
Mm-hmm.
You actually feel how your stomach feels, your heart, like it's moving, so that the nerves are actually catching all of those fluctuations in the
Mm-hmm.
body, and suddenly your brain can remap to what's happening there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy to be just like absorbed in sensation when you're actually like moving and in your body like that.
Knitting little things with your hands, like
I haven't
tactile.
figured out knitting yet, but I've definitely felt the call. I have a sister-in-law who is an avid knitter, and when I watch, actually two, and when I watch them on like when we go visit, I'm just like, that looks really cool. like they're just so tactile and
Yeah, the
yeah.
tactile, like you've got like a map of your internal organs in your hands, so to manipulate things, I think it
Mhm,
accesses a special
mhm.
part of the brain, you know.
Yeah,
uh
and I would say along with
Instruments,
go
what's
ahead.
that?
No, you go for it.
Well, like self massages kind of hit that,
Yeah,
instruments.
that's what I was thinking too, like massaging, just like getting
Yeah,
into that tactile body feeling, whether it's you or doing another partner if you're sheltering in place with anyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh I've been doing herbal. I've been collecting plants and chopping them and making magic potions out of them.
Nice.
That one really gets me connected to. I was doing nettle, so I'm like getting stung by nettle, you know, like reaching to a bag and be like, yo, like when it zaps me. That one will get you in your body real quick.
yeah.
Um, uh, I'm super curious. If anybody watching this, I'd love to hear other people's
Hmm.
ideas of like what's emerging from them as the thing that's giving them life to go out and do.
Yeah.
Uh,
For me,
Anything?
building like just building online business more. It's like something I've for years, intended of putting my work more online, and I have an online program and stuff, but I just haven't done a lot of the marketing online, or the, just the connecting with people. So for me,
Yes.
it's like, oh, like learning these new things and then like actually implementing it has been like a huge self-care thing for myself.
We
So,
could do a whole nother conversation on that too. You know, I think
compare.
that's useful to, because I think I don't think people realize how challenging of a journey it
Oh
is
yeah.
to talk about yourself and to put it out there in the world and to describe it and then
Mhm.
there's like that crazy technical detail of like,
Mhm.
okay, I energetically know what I want to do, but what does that? Like,
Yeah.
how do you really make it real and crystal?
Yeah. And yet it's also something so available to us right now. It's like a lot of people are having to evaluate, like, oh well, I guess that kind of job isn't going to be available anymore. Now what? Now what do I want to do? And I think it's something that we could all do, even if it's not full time. We can all have that thing that we love, that we want to share about.
Yeah.
And there's ways of, I mean, there's like endless things in the online world, even if you're not actually like sharing anything. There's just so many. It's such a rich economic resource. So
Yes.
yeah, so I think anything where people can explore something that gives them more of a sense of freedom and security economically, I think is a really good self-care thing to do right now.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
something really, I think there's a level of growing up that happens when you build something that supports yourself,
Hmm.
because you finally feel sovereign. You finally feel like um, you're not so dependent. I mean, I think there is mutual dependency in any economic ecosystem, but there you feel so much more balanced sometimes when you feel like this is mine. It's my creative force feeding it, and
Yeah.
that it can't be taken away. And that being said, many people have businesses that are affected by all regulations, this thing, uh, a platform changing, getting shut out of a certain system, like
Right.
that can affect people greatly. But there's still like, I think there's something amazing in a human journey to get to create that thing for yourself, even if it's a tiny little thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we said earlier, there's the huge emotional component that then, is also the logical physical doing component, and they're like actually interlinked. And like, for instance, I can see how much in this last couple of years, like that's been a huge part of my healing journey. I've taken care of my physical health in such beautiful ways that I don't really struggle with my health the way that I originally did when I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disease. But I can see how the self-worth piece on a professional level is actually a huge part of our health. It's like it's so much deeper than just like, oh, I'm making money or not. It's like I'm either allowing myself to give and receive that value that I know that I have, or I'm not believing that I have that value. And that's been a huge part of my own healing journey this past period. And I think that's something we all have to contend with in our own way. Even if we're not making our own business or whatever, like it's just part of being here and being part of
Yeah.
this system. So
Maybe that's our next conversation. I think that would be a
yeah,
very rich
that would be
one.
really good because it's been like intense, but also like, yeah, very enlightening and so much learning, and just a
Yeah.
lot of aha moments and a
Yeah.
lot of practical insights too for people. But but yeah, I feel like I also want to be in a position where I can be offering support. It's like I want to be able to be in a position where it's like, oh, that friend lost their job and they're about to get evicted, so here's a front on your rent or something. It's like I desire that. So like for me, that's part of my self-care, is working towards that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Part of being fully expressed.
Yeah.
Does this feel like a good like grace
Yeah.
note?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we could definitely go deeper into some of these other topics at another time.
Yeah,
So
it's great flow. I want to do this again. So if you're watching this, hit like or subscribe or all those things you do to like go like this, because it makes it a bigger audience, more people hear it. And I love your comments, because the reason I put these conversations out here is because it's me feeling into who's out there, what are their real needs, what are really people going through. And when people ask questions or put comments on there, then suddenly my brain can map the bigger picture of what needs to come through, what people need support around.
Mhm.
So please do that if anyone watches this in the future now. And thank you so much, Skya.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
I think I put a link, but if I didn't, could you please put a link to
Yeah.
any further trailheads into what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like right now, we definitely have a little just complimentary webinar that we've been doing just to provide specific support for, you know, the different things that people have coming up for them around this COVID-19. So you can subscribe to that. You can also, I'll put a link to just our regular email list if you want to get on that and just know what we've got going on. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I think who's Mary Lou? Is that your mom?
Mama, hey Mama Lou.
She just liked our video.
Yes.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Perfect.
Well, it's so good connecting with you, Eric, and I'm so grateful for what you're sharing. You know, just from your journeys of your own. It just comes through so clearly, like what you've been through and how it has just transformed your life and how you share that with other people so openly. So thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I started doing this because there were all these news stories about people making fun of people hoarding toilet paper. And I was bored. I had all this time at home, and I'm like, I'm hoarding my time. Like,
Yeah.
let's share toilet paper and time.
Yes.
All right. And
Yeah.
Skye, I appreciate your wisdom. And
Okay.
I'm always surprised by how many things you can reach in and pull like a fully formed, beautifully articulated thought out about. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
Peace
Right.
out.
Bye.
And I'm gonna stop the stream.